Hello, my name is Mark Sewell, and I'm Assistant Chief Financial Officer. This is an item before City Council on February the 6th, 2024, regarding the fiscal year 2023-24 mid-year budget review. Staff recommends that City Council A, receive an update on the latest fiscal year 2023-24 revenue and expenditure projections for major funds, and B, approve budget amendments within the Golf, Development Impact Fees, Contribution Trust, and Facilities and Related Funds. I shall begin the presentation with a view of the General Fund, the City's largest fund. This table shows revenues and expenditures for the General Fund and the revised budget compared to the year-end estimate. The revised budget is the adopted budget approved by Council in June 2023, plus any Council-approved amendments and any carryovers for capital and multi-year projects. The 2023-24 year-end estimate is the best estimates of departmental staff for where we think the City will finish this fiscal year. The revenue budget for the City is $225.3 million, and staff anticipate exceeding that by about $9.7 million. The main driver for that variance is an increase in sales tax, the Bradley Burns portion, due to an increase in the share of sales tax that Oxnard shall receive as a result of the way the state allocates sales taxes. Measure E, conversely, is projected to be just slightly below budget, recognizing the impact of transactions which occur within the City's limits and represents a forecast very close and in line with the original assumptions. On the expenditure side, expenses are projected to end the year $1.5 million lower than the budget at $243.9 million. A common theme across all departments are high levels of vacancies. The City's vacancy rate at around this time is about 12.5%, and so therefore there are savings projected in salaries and benefits across most departments. The fire department, however, is required to maintain a constant staffing level, and that has a significant cost of overtime, and the fire department are projecting to end the year 7.6% higher than their revised budget at $36.3 million. So overall, a forecasted increase in revenue and a forecast reduction in expenditures provides $11.1 million benefit to fund balance than was budgeted. Here is a graphical representation of the general fund revenues, where you can see that most categories of revenue are projected to be higher than the revised budget. And there you can see the sales tax from Measure E slightly lower than the budget at $57.4 million, and the Bradley Burns portion of sales tax higher than budget at $57.8 million. Here you can see a graphical representation of the general fund expenditures, with most departments forecasting slight savings against revised budget, and the fire department forecasting increases versus revised budget, primarily down to overtime. Measure O is a half-cent sales tax with the purpose of enhancing city services for the community. And this slide shows, again, the current revised budget and the year-end estimates for both revenues and expenditures. And you can see that staff are projecting revenues very much in line with budgeted assumptions at $21.3 million, and expenditures at $29.3 million, just under the revised budget. Anything that is not spent this fiscal year is anticipated to be carried over for completion in future fiscal years. And a much more detailed presentation will be provided at the Measure O Committee on January the 25th, 2024, which will be available online at the City's website, should anyone require more information. This next slide is the Water Fund, one of the City's enterprise funds. Again, the slide shows you revenues and expenditures and a comparison between the revised budgets and the department's year-end estimates. On the whole, revenues are projected to end the year very close to budget, a 3.1% reduction. and this is primarily driven by a reduced projection for water sales. Recent rainfall and trends in consumption suggest that the department may not reach its original budget target for fees and charges, and therefore projecting a slightly lower end for the fiscal year. Offsetting this reduction in revenue projected are savings in expenditures of $3.4 million. And this can be categorized in two main areas. One, salary and benefit savings due to vacancies. And two, a saving in the amount anticipated to be spent on purchasing water given the reduced demand. Salary and benefit savings are projected to be about $1.8 million, and $2 million less in water purchases are currently anticipated. The result of this is a $1.2 million improvement for the water fund, and the deficit there that's shown of $39.8 million, the vast majority of that are carried over expenses from prior fiscal years, to which, if they are spent in fiscal year 2024, that will be consumed from the carried over fund balance. The next fund is wastewater. Again, this shows revenues and expenditures with a comparison of the departmental estimates to the revised budget. Overall, revenues are projected to end the year 1.1% higher than the budget, with the interest revenue being the largest variance due to continued high interest rates. Expenditures, much like the water fund, are seeing savings in salary and benefits due to vacancy levels, and some savings in services due to reduced need for professional services anticipated compared to the budget assumptions. When you compare the $1.2 million increase in revenue and a $4.8 million saving in expenses, staff are projecting a $6 million improvement compared to revised budget for the wastewater fund. Again, expenditures are projected to exceed revenues, and that is reflected by the projection to spend money that was carried over from prior fiscal years, primarily in capital projects. The Environmental Resources Fund has a projection of revenue just slightly below revised budget at $49 million. This is 0.4% variance. On the expenditure side, again, staff are projecting most expenditures to be in line with revised budget at $63.1 million. A portion of the deficit projected at $14.1 million is carryover of prior year budgets. However, the ER fund does have a challenge to meet its obligations given current revenues. Staff is already working with consultants and has been in discussion with the council around a rate study, and more information regarding the ER rate study will be provided in due course and will be included as part of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget process. The Gulf Fund is projecting revenues in excess of revised budget of about $1 million, and this represents the continued demand for golf. And in line with that, anticipating increases in expenditures through contractual and other obligations given the increase in demand for golf. So overall, revenues are anticipated to grow by $1 million compared to the revised budget, and expenditures are anticipated to grow by about $900,000, resulting in a $0.1 million improvement compared to revised budget assumptions. The mid-year process provides the opportunity to review the financial performance and anticipated financial performance of all funds and identify any budget amendments necessary. Within the Golf Operations Fund, as previously mentioned, projections indicate higher than anticipated revenue and expenditures as a result of higher demand for play. Staff recommend an increase of $931,399 in revenue and expenditures to recognize this. This has no net change on the fund balance. Secondly, within the Contributions Trust Fund, staff recommend an increase of expenditures of $644,205 and $44,814 in revenue for a net $599,391 use of available fund balance. This is necessary to appropriate monies that the city holds that has been provided to the city for a specific reason, such as donations or fees, and the use of those funds can be budget checked in our ERP system if they are appropriated. Thirdly, Development Impacts Fees Fund. Staff recommend a transfer of $2.5 million from the Capital Growth Fees Non-Residential Subfund to the Capital Growth Fees Residential Subfund for the Fire Station 4 remodel. Fees received in the Residential Subfund are slightly lower than is needed, and so this recommended transfer will provide the funds into the appropriate subfund where these costs are budgeted. And then finally, within the Facilities Operating Fund, staff recommend an increase in revenues and expenditures within the Facilities Operating Fund of $630,000 to pay for increases in utility costs and higher than anticipated service levels. And this will be funded by $514,787 increase in transfer out appropriations and a subsequent decrease in salary and benefit appropriations within the General Fund Public Works Department. Salary savings are in essence paying for this extra costs. And because the Facilities Fund provides services to non-General Fund departments as well, staff recommends an increase of $115,213 across a number of other non-General Fund departments as shown within Attachment 2. Finally, it is staff's recommendation that City Council A receive this update on the latest fiscal year 2023-24 revenue and expenditure projections for the major funds, and B, approve budget amendments within the Gulf, Development Impact Fees, Contribution Trust, and Facilities Maintenance and related funds. Staff will be available at the council meeting to answer any questions. Many thanks.